Hi BookTube, I'm here with a book haul, the lazy standby of all booktubers who haven't taken the time or don't have the time because somehow working 40 hours in a week takes up more time than working 56 hours in a week. Don't ask me how time and math work, I don't have the answers. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing today. So I went to this huge used book sale, and the most expensive book I bought was $4, and because my hand's on it right now, I'll start with that one. This was a great find. Don't know the year on it, but I can tell that it's, you know, a little old, and it's Tolstoy Stories and Legends. And yes, it's Leo Tolstoy. And there's no date in here at all. I've looked over, but it's got these really cool, weirdly colored illustrations throughout it. You know, really angry looking Tolstoy there. Like, you know, really cool things. So it's just Russian stories and legends as told by Leo Tolstoy. There's another quite pretty one. So yeah, I got that one. And I'm just going into it kind of however they're piled beside me. So I read Flaubert's Parrot, and I decided I need to read some Flaubert. Because he seems like a fascinating person. I can't remember if I own Madame Bovary because, as you can tell, most of my unread books are wrapped. But I saw this really pretty edition. This is really good condition. Like this paper thing is really good shape. And this edition is from 1957. So it's in really good shape considering that. And the inside cover is a really nice blue as well, but because this is in such good shape, I decided to keep that on there. A book that I was really excited to find is Scarborough by Catherine Hernandez. This has been on the Canada Reads list for like 2 or 3 years now, on the long list, never made the short list. So I never justified buying it brand new, but when I saw it for I think $3, I had to have it. This is a Canadian novel about low working class and low income neighborhood, so it ticks all my boxes. And then I got another thing I've been looking for a while. Well, I was looking for his, I'm gonna butcher this, Ficciones by Jorge Luis Borges, and this is his collected fictions, which includes that and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm gonna apologize because I kind of have like a list in my brain of books that I know I've heard about through BookTube, but I don't always remember who recommended me that book, because it could have been like when I first joined BookTube. More recently I've started taking screenshots so that I remember people's names of who recommended me them, but I don't always remember. And I know someone talked about this on BookTube. I don't know who. So this is Crick Crack by Edwidge Danticat. And this is a series of stories that take place around the Haitian culture. And in the Haitian culture, after a storyteller finishes a story, they say crick, and the audience responds crack. So I think that's pretty cool. A popular book that's been going around is the Meddling Kids book. I didn't find that, but I found this one, This Body's Not Big Enough for Both of Us. This is by Edgar Quintero, who wrote that Meddling Kids book that's been going around. And this is about a private investigator that kind of has like 2 souls in the body, twins, a male and female. So that's going to seem really interesting how they play with gender and everything there. And this is why I recommend, you know, maybe like not immediately jumping on bandwagons, but like waiting, because buying books can be expensive, and if you wait a little while, they'll show up in like used bookstores and thrift stores and used book sales. As is the case with, you'll see the next few books that I've picked out here. Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. This is a few years, when was this published? 2017, so just 2 years ago. This was big, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't have read it around the time that I bought it. I probably would have waited at least 2 years, so I'm glad I now was able to get it for $3. And this is about a couple trying to escape something through doors that kind of just randomly appear. That's the gist of what I understand. I also found a copy of Essex Serpent, and this is from 2016. I'm not entirely sure what this one is about. I just know that a lot of booktubers were raving about it. A lot of booktubers that I trust. So I decided to pick that up when I saw it. Let's go for another random book here. Riot by Sashi. And that looks like a C to me, so I was pronouncing it Chahor. And then I just on the side that says The Roar, and I'm still probably not pronouncing it right, but this takes place in India during a riot that happens between Hindus and Muslims. And I'm really interested in India and novels that take place in India, so I definitely picked that up. And it's really cool because it's told in different ways. Like there's birthday cards, there's letters, there's transcripts, there's just random conversations, there's journal entries, I just passed by some poetry. So that looks like really cool. Then I also got Kintu by Jennifer Nanzubuga, Makumbi. And this is a Ugandan novel, and it's kind of like a family history that starts in 1750 with Kintu Kidda, and apparently he unleashes this curse on his family line, and we follow that family line in this book. Another book by Sarah Perry that's been popular is Melmoth. I'm hitting all the names today. I'm pretty sure I'm not pronouncing anything right. And this came out last year, and I got it used for $2, so that's pretty cool. Again, I'm not entirely sure. There's seems to be like a monster in this one. Yeah. I got some series books here. I've been wanting to kind of collect Robin Hobb, but just as like used books as I come across them, so I don't know if they're in any order, or the first book, second book, whatever. I just kind of pick them up as I find them. So I got Fool's Fate, Ship of Magic, and Mad Ship, all by her. So like if I can pick them up, as opposed to paying like the $12.99 that these would cost in store, picking them up for like $2 or 50 cents or whatever, you know, is a great way to collect that. Stephen King's Mr. Mercedes series. I have the first book in that series on my shelf, and I managed to find the rest of the series, Finders Keepers and End of Watch. Mr. Mercedes is his detective series. That gets a little weird, especially in End of Watch. But yeah, I wanted copies on my shelf because I've enjoyed it. Another series that I'm collecting, well, I might have to go to like an actual bookstore, whether that be a used bookstore or not, to buy all of these, because I'm currently reading the series. And that is the Malazan Book of the Fall, and this is a chunker. I think this is book 9 in the series. I'm only on book 2, but I wasn't going to pass up buying this for just $2. Another series that I'm collecting the physical copies of is the Wheel of Time series. So I found book 11, Knife of Dreams. I've read the series already, and I know I want copies so I can reread the physical copies. I read the audiobooks, which is why I don't have physical copies, but yeah, that's, who cares. And then I got Colette's Sherry. Colette is becoming more popular now because there's that movie put out about her. And I just thought I'd pick this up. Sherry features a son of a wealthy courtesan who's kind of pit into an arranged marriage. So that sounds interesting. Then I got Auto da Fe by Ilias Canetti. And I vaguely remember hearing about this. And the cover looks really cool. And it's a German story about this guy who kind of is going insane. All these things are strangely happening to him and he can't explain them. And then I got this, again with names, I'm sorry, the Mabinogion, and that's Welsh show. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. I apologize to all you Welsh speakers out there. And these are Welsh stories and legends, just short stories. So I thought that was really cool. More books here. There's 42 altogether, so I'm going through them quickly, I hope. The Archivist, this was another booktuber recommended to me. Can't remember which booktuber, and I apologize. If you have recommended or talked about any of these books on your channel, let me know, because then I can properly thank you. I can speak. And this, from what I think it's about, is about a person who's either working in a museum or in a library, an archivist. And it's kind of, she discovers a mystery within the archives. That's what I think it's about. Don't quote me on that. Then I bought a book I already own. I do like hardcover editions, even though this one is quite really heavy. But the reason I bought this is because I do own it in paperback, and the paperback is split into 3 editions. And I sillily decided to wrap the 3rd book, because I had already read the first 2, and I said, I'll wrap the 3rd book and put it on my shelf. But I did the math, and it might be about like 10 years before I get to every book on my shelf, especially at the rate that I buy books. And I was like, I don't think I can wait 10 years to finish this series. So that's a new thing, is I'm not wrapping series. I can choose to move on to them if I want to. So I decided to buy this for $3, this huge, enormous book that would have cost $47 if I went out and bought it new. So I can read the 3rd book whenever I want. Oh, and Jerusalem is a messed up book. The first book is about, it's like almost like a series of interconnected short stories that all feature one neighborhood. And the second book is about a young boy who ends up in the upstairs, which is his version of the afterlife. And the 3rd book is kind of all over the place from what I hear. It's really kind of been compared to Ulysses in how weird it gets, so I'm really looking forward to that. I've been collecting the Falcon Shakespeare editions. They are quite hard to come by because they are really out of print. They are from the 1960s, but I really like the simple and hardcover design, and the insides I really like because you have the text of the play, and then here is all the notes and everything right beside it. Instead of going down, you can just look over. I don't know, I just really like that format for reading the plays. Okay, I got The Rings of Saturn by W.G. Sebald, which is called really strange, seriously original, and unquenchable. And this has a bunch of pictures in it. And what it is like a fictional character does a walking tour of England. So the pictures are real and the locations are real, but we have this fictional person going on this adventure. Then I got The Minotaur Takes a Cigarette Break by Stephen Sherrill, and this is about the Minotaur from the Labyrinth, who's an immortal, and now he's kind of hit rock bottom. You know, he's living in a trailer park. He's socially inept, he's lonely, his life dissolves into chaos, which sounds pretty interesting. I love those kind of books that take non-human things and apply human situations to them. Then I got The Golden Book of Fairies by O.R.L. Melling. This is a series of 4 books, so the whole series is in there. And this is kind of like Fairy World and the Earth World kind of combine, and takes place in both Ireland and Canada, so I thought that was quite cool. Then, okay, this was a mistake on my part. I remember the name of the booktuber, The Tiny Chronicles. I didn't remember the name of the book, which didn't really help me. I knew that it was something indigo, or maybe just indigo, and I found this book called Indigo, and I was like, oh, that might be the book. It's not. The book was Mood Indigo, so I still need to find that one, but this one sounds quite cool too. This is kind of inspired by The Tempest, and it's about this colonialism meets The Tempest, so like that sounds really fascinating. And the book sale took place on May the 4th. And I found a Star Wars book, and this is The Courtship of Princess Leia. It was the only Star Wars book they had that I didn't already own. And so this is post original movies. Princess Leia gets into an arranged marriage, and Han Solo's like, what? No, like, I thought this was a thing. And so that's what this is about. So it's like a Star Wars romance, but it's between, I'm not generally interested in that, but it's between Han Solo and Princess Leia, so I mean that's pretty awesome. I also remember the booktuber who talked about this book, and that was Steve Donahue. The Dream of Scipio? Sure, by Ian Piers. Yeah, it takes place between the 14th century and the Second World War. And all centers around this kind of book. I got another book in my hand, sorry. I'm all over the place. Yeah. And this was the first book I picked up. It's because, like, how could I not? I was like, this looks awesome. And then on the back, it mentions the word Nephilim. And if you don't know, I'm semi-obsessed with Supernatural. And there's Nephilim on Supernatural, so I was just like, this sounds like it might be like a Supernatural type book. Yeah, so it does sound pretty cool. A Nephilim is the child of an angel and a human, just in case you didn't know. Then I got, of course I can't walk out of there without some more Russian literature. I already got the Tolstoy, and now I got this guy's name, who I'm going to butcher, and I know I've been corrected many times, but I'm still going to pronounce it the way I pronounce it, because you can't tell my tongue what to do. It's just, it has a mind of its own. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Yes. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. See, I can say it in my head, but it doesn't translate to my tongue. So yeah. And this is about a man who was in a forced labor camp in Serbia. Then I got a Terry Pratchett novel, and this is Guards. I think this is the first Night Watch novel. I'm not entirely sure. I just knew I didn't have this one, and with 40 books in the series, I don't want to buy them all new because that'd be a lot of money. So when I found them used, I picked them up. And this, I mistakenly thought this was a Xanth novel. I'm slowly collecting those too. This is Bio of an Ogre by Piers Anthony. This is actually his autobiography. So it's still cool. I'm still interested in him. Yeah, so I'm not disappointed. The Children of Men by P.D. James. See, when I go to buy books and they're this cheap, I don't spend a lot of time looking at what they're about. I just kind of like scoop, you know, pick out keywords on the back and just kind of buy them as is. Different angle, different shirt, same day, I just changed. But I realized my video cut off and I didn't finish, so I'm just going to very quickly go through this again. I also got Second Foundation, which is the third book in the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov, which is about this thing that was kind of set up to save human knowledge, and like each section of the book takes place in like a different time period as like time progresses and stuff like that. So there's a lot of books in that series. Don't be afraid, it's not that far from me to the floor. I'm quite short, so I'm just going to throw the books off to the side. The Bone People by Carrie Holm. I can't remember what this book is about. I know that it takes place in New Zealand. As I said before, like I just kind of like look at keywords on the back and pick them up, and the keywords on this were bound in Maori myth and entwined with Christian symbols, and it's kind of I know of this book. That sounds cool. I'm gonna get it. And I picked up this Canadian novel, David Adams Richards, which would be a hard name to remember because is it Adam David Richards or Richard Adam Davids or I don't know. Anyways, Life of Short Duration, and this is about a family who self-destructs after economic collapse and cultural disintegration, which sounds really awesome. And then I got, this was the book I was holding up when I ended, but, you know, books end up in whatever order they end up in. The Children of Men by P.D. James. This is just kind of one of those books that you kind of heard of. You're not exactly clear what it's about. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic thing. You know it was made into a movie. You know it's quite popular. You kind of want to read it based on those things alone. So that's why I picked that up. Then I got The 7 Minutes by Irvin Wallace. And this is about a bookseller who sells this kind of like controversial book, and that leads to a rape and a murder, and it kind of talks about like censorship and responsibility and all those kind of cool things, right? And then I got a Stargate novel, and I picked this up before I realized that it's before the TV show, but after the movie. So it'll be interesting to see how the characters are in here. Then I got Generals Die in Bed. This is a Canadian novel by Charles Yale Harrison. That's a name I don't have a problem with. I actually might have a problem with it. It might be pronounced differently, but I'm pretty sure I got it right. And this is another case of, I heard a booktuber talking about it. Can't remember which one. Probably a Canadian booktuber. But like 50% of my people I'm subscribed to are Canadians, so it's kind of like, what should I give her? We're talking about this book. I can't remember. I just know that, you know, it's kind of like, this book is a good book to pick up. I can't remember exactly what it's about, but I want to pick it up. And on the back it says, it makes All Quiet on the Western Front read like a children's book. Because it's one of those books that doesn't have a description, it just has a bunch of quotes, so you kind of don't know what the book is about unless you know, you already know what it's about. And this book is really quite interesting. Aldous Huxley. And look at that cover. It looks like a romance cover, and it sounds like a romance book on the back, mixed in with like a $1 million mansion built of stone and greed and the false glitter of Hollywood. And I'm just like, Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World, and he wrote like The Island, and all these other really kind of like in-depth, kind of like science fiction-y novels about utopias and dystopias and all this stuff. Like, wonder what a romance novel written by him is going to be like, and why would he write a romance novel? And so this really piques my curiosity. So that's where I'm going to end it. Sorry about the length of the video, and sorry that it kind of became disjointed all of a sudden because my camera decided to stop filming partway through. So thank you for watching, and if you were one of the people who talked about these books, just let me know in the comments down below, and thank you for, you know, spending my money. Basically, that's what you're doing. I'm blaming you.